Okay, let's get into this. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling something genuinely massive, really ambitious stuff. EON Reality's goal, their stated goal, is to give away its XR and AI platform, specifically that Career Compass tool, free to up
Yeah,
to 1 billion users across the globe. I mean, just saying 1 billion, it feels huge, doesn't it?
it really does. It's a number that just makes you stop and think for a second. Building these platforms, immersive XR, advanced AI, it costs a lot. And then keeping it running for millions, let alone trying for a billion users, that's a massive operational lift. So the big question, like you said, is really fundamental. How do you manage that kind of scale with premium tech and, well, not charge people for the main experience?
Exactly. That's the core of it. And that's what our source material gets into today. We're looking at a pretty recent announcement from EON Reality, and it outlines their foundational monetization strategy. This is the business model they're betting on, the one they believe can actually make this huge free access thing possible and sustainable. So our mission really is to unpack that strategy, understand the engine, the financial engine that's supposed to power this incredible goal.
And what's really interesting, I think, is the context here. Traditionally, this kind of advanced XR for education, it's been, high-cost licenses, sold mainly to big institutions, think universities, large companies doing training, maybe government projects. EON seems to be making quite a pivot here, aiming right at individuals, the B2C market.
Right, because that cost barrier for just a regular person anywhere who wants good immersive training, it's been sky high. They're calling this direct-to-consumer thing their Rolling Thunder launch. And they're framing it very clearly as a response to the global learning crisis, the massive need for practical skills, especially with jobs changing so fast because of AI and automation. They seem to see a potential audience, not just in the millions, but genuinely in the billions, who need tools for reskilling, for upskilling, like right now.
And absolutely central to that idea is realizing you just can't reach billions if you rely on pay-per-use or a high subscription fee for the basic value. Dan Lajersgard, their chairman, he really points this out. The challenge of making this premium interactive XR and AI education available to everyone, everywhere, without making them pay directly for that main benefit.
So entry has to be free. That's the starting point, a freemium model, which, is a proven way to get massive scale online. You offer a solid set of core features completely free. The source says this includes stuff like basic XR learning content, some AI-powered career guidance, community features, things like that. And that immediately just breaks down that first economic wall for potentially billions, right? Anyone with the right device, internet, they can start exploring.
But like you said earlier, supporting that many people,
Yeah.
even if it's only a fraction of a billion, it needs serious ongoing investment. You're talking platform development, maintenance, huge cloud hosting costs, constantly creating new content, developing the AI further, user support. I mean, the list goes on. So the money needed to cover all that, and crucially to fund future growth, it has to come from somewhere else, not from those core free users paying for the basics.
Okay, and the announcement breaks this down. It's like a multi-part revenue engine. They're definitely not relying on just one thing. The source material seems to point to three main B2C-related streams that work together to hopefully make it all viable.
All right. Should we start with the one they seem to position as the main driver? The primary engine funding, that huge free tier, that would be the data-powered advertising revenue.
Okay, yeah, let's really get into that. How does showing ads, how does that actually pay for a premium immersive education platform for potentially a billion people? It sounds a bit counterintuitive, maybe.
Well, it boils down to two things. Scale, obviously, but also, and this is critical, the quality of that audience and the kind of data you get. Think about who's using the EON Career Compass. These aren't just random people browsing the web. They are people actively learning, trying to build skills, looking for career advice, exploring jobs. That means they have incredibly high intent around education, training, professional growth, employment. For advertisers in those spaces, that kind of audience is, well, the source implies it's basically gold.
But it's more than just having lots of eyeballs for ads, isn't it? The announcement really stresses the data-driven targeting part.
Precisely. Just blasting generic ads wouldn't make enough money to fund this whole thing, not at this scale. The real power comes from using the unique data the platform gathers about what users are doing. And they're careful to say this is always aggregated, always anonymized. Protecting privacy is key. But imagine the insights. What skills is someone looking into? Which XR lessons are they using most? What career paths are they interested in? Where are they located? By analyzing all this collective anonymized data, EON can build these very specific and therefore very valuable audience segments.
So, like, instead of a university just buying general online ads for their MBA, they could pay more to specifically reach users in, say, Germany who are actively looking at project management skills and leadership courses right there on the platform.
Exactly that. That level of precision targeting makes the ad space incredibly valuable. Advertisers could be universities hunting for students, companies looking for talent, other edtech firms, maybe even government agencies promoting training. They're willing to pay much more to reach those motivated, relevant groups compared to just, scattergun online ads. The platform connects to major ad exchanges, uses an auction system. Advertisers bid to show their ad to someone in a valuable segment, which pushes up the revenue per ad view, the eCPM.
Ah, eCPM,
Yeah.
effective cost per mil, yeah. Revenue per 1,000 times the ad is shown. So a higher eCPM means more money for every 1,000 targeted ads displayed.
That's the idea. Maximize the value from each ad slot. And the ads themselves, they can be placed smartly within the platform, maybe on a results page after you do a skills check or in your dashboard, potentially making them feel less like annoying interruptions and more like actual useful resources for finding that next step, like where to get a course or find a job related to the skills you're building.
Okay, and this is where aiming for 1 billion users starts to make financial sense for the ad stream, doesn't it? Even if the ad revenue per user is pretty small compared to, say, a monthly subscription. The sheer volume from a massive user base creates just a colossal number of ad impressions. That scale just multiplies the ad revenue potential massively. The source suggests this stream alone could potentially reach multi-billion-dollar levels.
That's the core calculation, yes. Scale gives you the volume. The specific learning data gives you the high-value targeting that drives up the eCPM. Put those together, and you've got a potentially very powerful advertising engine. And there's another interesting bit within this stream: partnership value share. For really big partners, like maybe governments or national education bodies bringing in millions of users, they mention their NSERT partnership in India as an example. EON can share a slice, a negotiated percentage, of the net ad revenue that comes specifically from the users brought in through that partnership.
That sounds pretty smart strategically. It gives those big partners a real incentive, not just to get users signed up for free, but to actually help keep them active on the platform. Because the more active those users are, the more ad revenue gets generated and the bigger the share the partner receives.
Exactly. It builds this shared incentive structure. It could really help drive user numbers and engagement massively. And it makes the platform a potential revenue source for the partners too, not just something they offer. The source estimates this could mean millions a year for some of those big partners.
Okay, so advertising is the base layer, fueled by scale and targeted data, paying for the free access and driving partner growth. What's the second big revenue stream they talk about?
That would be premium subscription revenue. This feels a bit more like your standard freemium approach, but it's layered on top of that huge free user base. The core stuff is free, but users can choose to pay for, better features or deeper access.
And what's the hook? Why would someone upgrade? What do you get in those premium tiers?
Well, the source mentions different levels, like basic and plus subscriptions. They offer real value ads for people who are really serious about their learning or career path and want faster or more comprehensive tools. Things like, first off, a completely ad-free experience, which a lot of people will pay for. Unlimited access to the entire library of XR learning content, not just the basic free stuff. Also, deeper, more personalized help from the AI mentor, better analytics to track your progress in detail, maybe access to specific certification programs, and potentially things like better job matching or direct links to employers through the platform.
Okay, so the free tier pulls everyone in, gets them using it, shows them the power of the XR and AI, and hopefully creates this big pool of really engaged users who see the value for their career. And then some of them will be willing to pay for the faster track or the extra tools.
That's the logic. Show the value first, then offer clear benefits for upgrading. As that free user base grows into the hundreds of millions, maybe even 1 billion, even if only a small percentage converts to premium, that's still a huge number of paying subscribers, which can generate a really significant, predictable, recurring revenue stream. They also talk about adjusting the pricing for different regions, different economies, to try and maximize those conversions globally.
Makes sense. So ads fund the free base and partners. Premium subs offer enhanced value for paying users. What's the third leg of this stool?
That's the data monetization revenue. And it's really important to stress, based on the source, this is not about selling off individual user data. The announcement is very clear. They're working with aggregated, anonymized data from everybody combined. This stream is about selling the insights you can get from watching how this massive global audience learns.
The patterns, the trends you mentioned before.
Exactly. When you potentially have billions of people using a platform to learn skills, you get incredible insights into global learning trends, what skills are actually in demand, how that changes by region, which career paths are hot, even what kinds of learning content actually work best. EON's data science team takes this huge data set again, always aggregated, always anonymized for privacy, and generates these really valuable reports, dashboards, analytical insights.
And who's buying that kind of high-level insight?
Primarily B2B customers. Businesses and organizations who need that macro view. Think governments, they need it for planning the workforce, figuring out future skills gaps, designing education policies. Educational institutions, they need it to make sure their courses are relevant to the actual job market. And big corporations, they need it for strategic planning, finding talent pools, understanding industry skill shifts, making smart training investments. These insights get packaged up into high-value data products. Could be detailed reports, live dashboards for benchmarking, maybe even API access so companies can plug it into their own systems.
Right, so this is basically selling the high-level knowledge derived from the sheer scale and activity of the B2C users. It's a B2B play, maybe even automated through data markets. And the source suggests this stream could bring in substantial revenue, often with pretty good margins too.
It could. And the source really emphasizes that this relies on trust. Trust built on being transparent and committed to anonymization. That's crucial for getting both the users generating the data and the organizations buying the insights comfortable with the whole process.
Okay, so these aren't just three separate ways to make money, are they? The announcement talks about them working together, calls it a revenue flywheel.
Yeah, this is where it all connects, and it's really the heart of the sustainability plan. These revenue streams are designed to feed each other, creating this kind of positive loop. Think it through. Getting tons of users with a free offer. That directly fuels the advertising revenue, more impressions, more targeting options. That huge active user base also generates all the aggregated, anonymized data you need for the data monetization stream, making those insights richer.
And that data, the insights from it, can that be used to make the platform itself better?
Exactly. The insights into how people learn, what works, what doesn't, that feeds back into platform development. It helps make the AI smarter, the content more relevant, the whole user experience smoother. And those improvements, they make the premium subscription tiers more valuable, more appealing, which should drive more conversions. And engaged users, including the premium ones, keep generating more data, which keeps feeding the insights and advertising engines. It all cycles around.
And didn't the source also mention something about users becoming entrepreneurs within the system? Like creating content or tools, adding another layer?
Yes, that's another potential part of the flywheel, an entrepreneurial ecosystem. That could generate even more activity, more value, potentially more revenue streams within the platform itself. The way they seem to position it is, the advertising revenue primarily covers the big operational costs of serving all those free users, cloud hosting, content delivery, basic support. Then the money from premium subs, data monetization, maybe that ecosystem revenue. That's what funds the cool new features, the AI advancements expanding globally and driving the profit needed to keep the whole flywheel spinning and growing access. They also talk about phasing their investments, aligning spending with the revenue they expect to generate as this flywheel hopefully picks up speed.
So this vision, reaching 1 billion users for free, it isn't just wishful thinking or relying on charity. It seems to be backed by a really detailed, calculated business model, leveraging the assets that come with scale, the audience for ads, the data for insights, mixing it with premium options and ecosystem potential, all designed to support itself and reinforce its own growth.
That's the plan, precisely. It's a really ambitious approach, trying to use the power of data, scaled premium models, and ecosystem value to tackle that global learning crisis in a sustainable, business-driven way. They're aiming for huge revenue potential, yes, but framing it as the necessary engine to actually achieve the mission, democratizing access to quality XRAI education and career tools on a scale we've just never seen before.
It's definitely complex, a lot of moving parts, financially and operationally, which I think leads us nicely to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to think about after this deep dive. Given that this whole model hinges on generating substantial revenue from advertising and from leveraging data insights drawn from potentially 1 billion users' learning activities, what are the potential implications? The good, the bad, the maybe complicated for the future of global, large-scale free education if it's built on this kind of foundation?
That is a fascinating question with potentially very significant consequences down the line.
Absolutely. Something to chew on. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Always a pleasure. Glad to talk it through.